Hello, Natalie.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. Well, nice to meeting you, right? Uh,
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
yeah. So you're in London right now, right?
Yes,
Cool. So, Natalie, I want you to introduce yourself.
right. So hi, I'm Natalie Nasr. So I'm half Lebanese, half Danish, but I live in London. I'm a writer, director, actor, and yeah, I've been doing this for a few years now professionally. And Annie shared her location, my short film, which is in the best short film category in your festival,
Right.
is actually my first ever film that I've ever
Really?
directed. Yeah.
The film, it looks so professional, Natalie.
I mean, I had a great team,
Yeah.
I mean, one of like my creative producer, Cyrus Mirza Shafa, was incredible. And we had our DOP, Carmen, who's just incredible. I mean, I'm sure you've seen
Mm,
just all the shots and
cool.
stuff. She's just
Yeah.
like the most incredible DOP, and everyone, the actors. So it wasn't all me for sure.
Mm,
Had a
yeah.
lot of people involved.
Cool. Natalie, well, I know the story of the short, but I want you to tell, the spectators about it.
Yeah. So Annie Shared Her Location is a short film, like I said. It's essentially a montage of different women's experiences with several different forms of sexual harassment. So it's a very heavy film. It's all based on real women's experiences. So in the lead up to the film, I interviewed a lot of different women that I know and don't know from around the globe, and sort of like consolidated all of these different stories and then created a short film around those stories. So the film has around 7 different short stories, and it sort of like builds up to worst case scenarios. So it goes through all of the different forms of sexual harassment, like I mentioned. So anything from, it starts out with, catcalling, groping, receiving unsolicited photos, all the way to domestic violence. And I think the reason why I wanted to show that array of different forms is mostly because I feel like in society we focus a lot on, the bigger, more gruesome sort of sexual harassment stories, and we never really focus on the smaller ones that happen on a daily basis to women everywhere. And um and that essentially perpetuates the whole cycle, and it perpetuates rape culture, and it leads to the bigger things happening. So I thought if we could start
Mhm.
conversations around, catcalling, for example, and start saying like that is not appropriate, we need to stop that now, then hopefully rape culture will begin to dismantle and the bigger things won't happen as often or at all. Hopefully. But yeah, that's what the film's about.
Yeah, that is super interesting. So, Natalie, do you think that, so I know it's a fiction, but do you really think that it's like 100% fiction, or does it have like any sort of like documentary style?
No, it is a fiction because all of the stories are based on true experiences, but they're not exactly the true experiences.
Mhm.
Except actually one of the stories is, I'm not going to disclose which one, but it was actually the actor played herself, and that scenario really did
Wow.
happen to her.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you could say that it's kind of like fiction fused with documentary style, almost like a docu-narrative style. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Do you, so I think you just answered my second question. Is any of the actresses, playing playing the roles are, victims, unfortunately, to any of the sexual harassment?
Yeah. So one of them definitely, she does play. I interviewed her and I was like, she's an actress as well. And I was like, I'd love you to be involved. I'd love you to play her character. And I think for her, it felt liberating almost to be able to like
Mhm.
have to share her experience on screen. And then of course, all of the other women involved didn't play, the characters who were interviewed. They didn't play, they
Mhm.
played those roles, right? But a lot of them have experienced similar things. So every woman I know has experienced, holding their keys in their fist
Mhm.
while walking home alone late at night,
Mhm.
and receiving unsolicited photos when you're like in high school or middle school. Every woman I know, or sitting at a bus stop and being spoken to inappropriately, even though you're giving clear signs that you're not interested.
Mhm.
Um, all of those things, we've all been through them. So I'm sure it felt very yeah, very good for a lot of these women to be able to play those roles and bring them to life.
Cool, Natalie. Well, on a personal note, I'm glad and grateful for filmmakers like you who started talking about these topics, because I believe that, talking about these social topics is something so important, in our modern societies, because we're trying to, develop and, as society, and especially modern society. And, at LIFF, we tackle a lot of, these sometimes heavy subjects. Did you get any like negative comments about the film? Did you get any like heavy comments? Because it's a heavy topic.
Yeah, no, it is a heavy topic. I'm curious to hear how the audience in Lebanon will take it. Because obviously it's only ever, I mean, everyone around the world has, even women have sexist, views. But obviously I grew up in Lebanon, so I know a lot of like the mentality over there. And so I'm very curious to hear how the audience will take it over there and what sort of like comments I will receive from that. But so far I haven't received anything. No, I've received a lot of like a lot of like my male friends who've come to watch it have, spoken about particular scene, the bus stop scene, telling me things like, oh, but is that really bad? He's just talking to her. Like what what was so bad about that scenario? So I've had a little bit of like comments from that particular scene. And also a lot of my male friends didn't know that women hold like their keys in their fists when walking home, or share their location or anything like that. To them it's so foreign, and they were like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing that you guys have to do every single day, or not every day, but most days when you're walking home alone late at night. So yeah, I think it's definitely eye-opening to a lot of people.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. It's kind of educational, right? And
yeah, I think that's the plan for it, to sort of have it workshopped around different schools in the world. I think we're starting in the UK. There's a few different like NGOs, so women rape crisis centers, and also just gender violence centers and different schools around the UK that are already a little bit interested in like using it as a workshop within different schools and within their organizations. So I think it's definitely, geared more towards like an educational sort of film. Yeah.
What was your goal when you first wrote and directed this film?
Oh, that's a good question.
I only ask good questions, Adam.
You do. These are all great questions. I'm like, oh, really putting me on the spot. I don't know, like I wrote this film right after COVID, or kind of like in that period when there was a story going around the UK about this woman named Sarah Everard, who had just been very unfortunately she was kidnapped and raped by a police officer here, and that obviously like broke storms in the UK. It was all over the news, and for a period of time after that, there was this sort of like fear and heaviness in the air. So a lot of women that I know, including myself, just felt even more afraid to walk around alone during the day and during the night in the UK. And that sort of fear just was in me. And I literally had a dream about one of the scenes that's in the film. And I woke up and I just like wrote down the scene. And then the next day I wrote the entire film. Well, not the entire one because I had to interview people, but like that's kind of like where the inspiration for it came. It literally came from like deep fear, which is not great. But so I think my hopes in creating it, to go back to your question, was more to just to start a conversation around this rape culture that has become so normalized, so that we can begin to dismantle it. And I think just obviously, like, I know that my film isn't gonna like dismantle it as a whole. It's just part of the conversation. And I think that creating art to be part of important conversations in all different like social issues and political issues is important, so that we can begin to like abnormalize these things, you know. And so yeah, I just wanted to be part of the conversation, I guess.
Cool. Natalie, what's your creative process?
Oh, another good question.
Yeah.
So I mentioned I'm an actor, writer, director, also now producer. I've just created my own production company, but we'll see how that goes. I think every artist nowadays is like, I'm gonna do it all, you know?
You know what? And I like it. I like it because
Yeah.
now we're independent and we can talk, do, and use as I'm talking as crew and as cast. This is what's being independent is, and it opens the way to all of these subjects. That big studios didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's almost like you can't have all the power. You just need to fit into one box. And now we're like, well, we want to be in one box. We want to break out of that box and be in all of them.
Right.
But to answer your question, I have different creative processes for all of the different fields. I have a very specific one for my acting. And then for my writing, it's more so just having to be normally in a quiet space, like feeling very relaxed. And then like the creativity sort of flows. It's normally at night that I feel like I can write best. And then I don't know, I really like thrive off of like burning candles and just being in a relaxed state. I think when my system is sort of just like in a relaxed state, then I feel more creative. So I need to feel like I'm in a safe space, if that makes sense.
Super interesting. Yeah. Cool. So, and one of my last questions. So, watching and I'm gonna go back to the movie. Watching the movie, I felt that you took a lot of like the montage of the film. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Was we had a lot of close-ups, and then we had a lot of like kind of establishing shots or like large shots. Was that on purpose?
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, Carmen, our DOP, was just fantastic, and she came up with the storyboard mostly. So that was her idea of like, I mean, her and Cyrus and myself, sort of like wanting these close-up shots, because then you feel like you're in that character's mind, you feel like you're in their world, you feel more connected to them. And then the wider established shots, I mean, you always need an established shot, like a wide shot. So I think like those were just things that we needed to have there. But then, in hindsight, it also is kind of nice because you do feel so separate from this. So you have that like experience as a viewer, and then you're stepping into their world. So it's almost like you're out and then you're in. There is that one scene with the two schoolgirls where it's like a wide shot and it comes in and it keeps twirling. And that was honestly, that was an improvised thing. We didn't know that it was going to be a continuous long shot, but it just flowed in that way and it worked so perfectly. And it's nice because you feel like you're in one girl's world and then in the other one, and then you're back to both of them. And yeah.
Cool.
Magic of cinematography.
Exactly. Now I can, talk about the bus scene. So actually, the bus stop scene. We feel that we're like literally next to her, and it's like we're seeing what she's seeing, or we're seeing what the other guy's seeing, perspective, and then we see them, from like an objective, outsider, look, and effectively when you use the large shot, we're like nothing weird is happening. But then when you get closer, you understand that she's not feeling comfortable or okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a specific moment in that scene where the angle is a little bit like tilted upwards and you're looking down at her, and it's sort of like almost you feel how victimized she feels, if that makes sense, because you're looking up and you see, it's almost like you're seeing her from like a male gaze, and she's just there kind of like scared and frightened. And that idea, I think was either Cyrus or Carmen's, and again, I'm just gonna say her full name because she's wonderful, Carmen Pellin Brusosa. Everyone needs to work with her. She's wonderful. And then like going back to like him, obviously, like you said, it's just going from one world to the next, from one world to the next. And I think that provides this opportunity for the audience to sort of see both sides, and then it causes a little bit of confusion on like, okay, but what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate, and why is it inappropriate? And I really like that about the bus stop scene. I think it is very much in the gray zone, which it shouldn't be. It should be black or white.
Yeah.
I think this, and I think the fact that people do see it in the gray zone, or not everyone, but a lot of people, is exactly why I wanted to show it, because I'm trying to say that, like, yes, this is what we view right now, but actually it should be like, you know, a black or white situation. Like, this is not okay. And there's clear signs, and we need to start talking about that.
Yeah, cool. Well, Natalie, it was my pleasure to talk to you and to discuss your
My pleasure.
it's a beautiful piece. I'm really looking forward to to the reaction of our audiences. We'll keep you posted, and I hope you can make it next year, at LIFF's edition, next year. That would be great.
Yeah, I will definitely try to make it next year, 100%. Even if I don't have a film that's in the festival, I'll definitely be there.
Cool. Well, wish you best of luck with your production house. And then,
thank you.
And then let's talk soon.
Yeah, sounds good. You too. And good luck with the festival.
Thank
I'm
you,
excited to see what it is.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Bye.